Hello and welcome to another episode of the Football Fun Factory podcast, where I'll be questioning James and Johnny some challenging questions when it comes to coaching children's football. So this week it's going to be around pushy parents.
Oh, great topic.
An interesting one. So in terms of that, I think it's something that we've all probably dealt with, myself as a parent, as a coach, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges, I'd say, for grassroots coaches or any coaches coaching children's football. So I'm going to kick it off with the first question. So you've got parents shouting unhelpful things from the sidelines. How are you going to deal with that as the coach? James, I'm going to start with you on this one.
My short answer would be educate them.
Educate them.
Nice.
John?
My short answer would be make an intervention before that happens.
Two very, very good answers that interest me a lot. The one that interests me a little bit more is yours, James. So talk to me more about educating the parents.
I think that in the moment you have to deal with it. If there's someone shouting from the sidelines, you need to try and make that stop. I think if you just deal with it without educating, then it might get a negative reaction. So if it's like, can you stop shouting, please? Then the parent might then, the type of parent that then shouts something unhelpful might also be the type of parent that then says, I'm entitled to shout, and say, well, it's my kid, whatever, and push back, and then there's a little bit of aggravation on the sidelines. So I think that, and it kind of relates to yours, John. If you've already set the expectations, then you can go, as we talked about at the start of the season in our team meeting, that this isn't the way we conduct ourselves on the sideline, and the reason is because of this. Now, of course, what you don't want to do, to caveat that, what you don't want to do is spend your time on the sideline speaking to the parents when you should be helping the children on the pitch. So it's making sure you don't place too much focus and attention on it. But I think it's making an intervention to make the shout it or the unhelpful comments stop. And if you've got time in a time limited window to be able to explain a little bit of why without deviating your attention away from the most important people, which is the kids playing the game.
Now, what does that education look like? Is that just purely that meeting at the start of the season, the parents are involved and you set that expectation is love you to shout encouraging things, but if you start coaching whatnot from the sideline, that's not going to help the children?
Yeah, so I'd probably pass to you, John, just to touch on your point, just because I think we're on the same page in terms of...
Definitely.
You can... I guess the bit where I agree that I should have won the point, because ultimately, even if you have that meeting, you know that you're still going to get it. You're not going to stop it.
Well, if I went first, I would have said your answer.
Yeah.
So it's
easy to say that now.
But I think it starts when parents come into a club, isn't it? It's when they come into that environment for the very first time. It's really important to educate them and set your expectations on what you want from them, how they can support their child, and how not to support their child as the season goes on. As you say, you're absolutely right, because as the season unfolds, you will then get parents still shout stuff from the sidelines, and then in that moment you do need to deal with it. But I think that initial conversation is getting everyone to buy into your values, your ethos, what you're trying to achieve, and educating them on the why you're doing it. I think parents are really understanding if you have that open dialogue and have that open communication, explain to them when you're on the sidelines, can you refrain from shouting, because it may be something that we're working on, specifically, for example, staying on the ball, and you're shouting pass all the time, and it can be really unhelpful. So I think educating them on the why and the thought behind it, hopefully then gets the buy-in from the parents. I guess my question to you, James, would be, obviously, matches playing, parents are on the sideline shouting. When is the best time for the coach to go and make that intervention? Is it in the interval? Is it across the pitch? Is it going around the pitch to have a little quiet conversation? How would you deal with that in that scenario?
Probably depends on what's said and in what tone. So if it's really, really unhelpful and there's like misinformation being shouted, aggressively, then you might have to nip it in the bud quite quickly.
Yeah.
If it's like a parent that keeps chirping up, then you can sort of leave it to the interval and just be like, just remember that meeting we had at the start of the season. So I think, it just depends on the severity of it, really.
Yeah, look, with obviously you have the meeting, fantastic, what you're talking about there, and doing that in a very relaxed environment. Obviously the side of the football pitch, even at under 7s, under 8s, it's a highly emotional a lot of the time with the parents as well. And when you talk about what does that conversation look like? Because if you're trying to speak to someone who's obviously maybe frustrated at their child, they're shouting on the side of the pitch, it's a hard conversation, isn't it?
It is no different to coaching, though. I think it's just showing understanding. So it might be like, yeah, I know, like, it's a really tight game and we're all really, really excited. Just a reminder, like the coaching points that I deliver, or what we talked about in training, actually wasn't what you said, and just educate. And that's why the key word for me was education, and to tell them why, explain why. Now, could that result in the parent going, well, I disagree and I think this and I can say what I like? Yeah, absolutely. Could it result in another parent on the sideline and then disagreeing with that parent and it all kicking off? Absolutely. And that's why we're a little bit unhappy with how grassroots football works in this country, and why it's a little bit broken in some ways. But I think as the coach, you just have to make an intervention. The worst thing you can do is nothing. I think in that scenario.
I think the key is to kill them with kindness, isn't it? And like you say, to come over and try and diffuse the situation, to be really calm, to not come across as like it's a personal attack or you're being aggressive or anything like that, to probably a polite reminder. If they do then disagree, I think it's like, look, respect your opinion. Can we please pick it up after? I'd really appreciate if you can respect my decision at this moment in time and do as we agreed at the start of the season. So I think it's trying to keep as calm as possible and diffuse that situation, because it's quite hard to shout back at someone if they're then not shouting.
The shame about it all is just that
shouldn't be a thing.
Shouldn't be a thing. We should be focused. All, even this conversation now, we're talking about the parents on the side of the pitch. We shouldn't be talking about that. We're talking about the kids themselves.
Yeah, but again, it is probably one of the biggest challenges for grassroots. And I think what you say there, obviously both of you really experienced coaches, it's not that easy, is it, for maybe a parent who's being a coach for the first time, probably quite het up, emotional themselves, and then I think that's where the real issues happen, when you fight fire with fire and then everything falls down really quickly. But some fantastic points there. You ready for another question?
Ready.
Okay, there's a dad that thinks his daughter should play every minute of every game as he thinks she is the best player. How are you going to deal with him, Johnny Martin?
I would explain the benefits of not playing every minute.
Oh, that's interesting.
James?
I would say that's not what we do here in this team.
Ooh. I want to go with you, Johnny. I want to hear more about what you're going to say.
Cool. So I think first and foremost, it does come back to that education at the start, and I think it's really important for parents and for coaches to all be on the same page. So I do agree with what you said, JC. However, I think in that instance, in that example, it's really important to sort of link back into the first question and educate the parent as to why we don't do it within our team. The journey that children go on as they go through grassroots football, they need lots of different variety. If they started every match and they played every minute of every match, then they're not going to have the variety of coming off the bench. They're not going to have the variety of being disappointed to not start a game, to seeing how they come onto a pitch and come onto a match when they're 2-0 down and how they have to try and affect it. So I think there's so many benefits for children not to play every minute, to start on the bench, to start up front, to start in goal, to keep mixing it up throughout their grassroots journey. So I try and speak to the parent and educate them on the why behind it, and share the benefits of their child not then playing every minute.
Not least the kind of developmental benefits in terms of being a good person, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like turn taking, allowing others to play, like
100%,
supporting your teammates, being a great member of the team, all those kind of things. That those are wonderful character traits to build, potentially much more important than how good a defender they are or how many goals they scored.
And ultimately, if they're playing every minute of every match, then it could negatively affect their ego, their understanding of those important life skills. So I think it's trying to share and showcase the important benefits of not playing every minute.
Like in both questions that we've had so far, it's been around the education. Like for someone who's purely doesn't come from a football background, can see their child is the most gifted player. Like, again, what does that... Because it's not an easy conversation. It's hard to educate someone in one conversation. Like, how does that conversation or that education go with the dad that believes my daughter should be on the pitch all the time because they're the best player?
I think it comes back to the ethos and those conversations that you've had at the start. So obviously if you're having those initial meetings when people come on board on the team and you educate them on the ethos and what you're trying to achieve that season, then I think it's really easy to refer back to that. I think if any coaches listening haven't had that initial conversation with the parents to discuss your ethos, to discuss how you're going to play, what you're going to try and do and what your priorities are, it is really hard to have those conversations with people because there's not like a reference point you can go back to. So strong recommendation, anyone that hasn't had those, to have them, even if it is halfway through the season, but to definitely make that intervention. And then I think that conversation becomes a lot easier because you can just refer back to the agreement that you had with the parents, with the children at the start of the season. I think ultimately it's finding the right time to have those conversations. So maybe it's not in the heat of the moment, on the pitch, on the side of the pitch, after the game even. It's probably looking to pick those conversations up in a different setting, away from the children, away from the other parents, maybe on the phone or face-to-face at another time, to try and take the emotion out of that situation and try and have a rational conversation, I think is key.
Look, in both, again, questions spoke about that piece of speaking to all the parents, and a lot of grassroots coaches may not have done that. Like how is that done? Is that something at the first training session the parents come out, like what's the best way of doing that?
My top tip on that would be to just get a written document, because I can imagine that there are grassroots coaches who would find that really nerve-wracking. Putting yourself in a position where you're saying something potentially shouldn't be, but potentially controversial to a group of parents, of which there's always going to be someone that disagrees or someone that kind of takes umbrage with what you're saying. Whereas if you just go, here's a document, and I think if that's then club-wide instead of just team by team, just go, here at this club, here's what we do, there's the document. I think that's a really easy thing, because it's almost like it's not coming from them, it's coming from the piece of paper with the club badge on it. I think that it then holds more authority. So I would recommend that you almost sort of take a step back and go up a level to then the club secretary or the chairman of the club to say, let's set the parameters here at under 8, at under 9, at under 10, at whatever we decide, whatever the philosophy is, and that's not really what the conversation's about, but whatever the philosophy is, that's the philosophy. That's what we abide by.
And when you've done that, it's so important, isn't it, to live and breathe by that? Because I think that's if you've got the document, but then some parents see, they read the document, but that's not happening in this team. That
Even
has to be
so,
the most important thing.
Agree, yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Good answers. 1-1.
1-1.
Ready for a third question?
It's tight.
Third question.
A parent questions your philosophy of rotating positions. James, how are you going to deal with that situation?
I would explain that there are a number of really good examples of players that have rotated positions and how it's enhanced their development.
Interesting. Johnny?
Nice. I would ask for their patience and trust.
James, yours sounds a little bit more interesting.
Thanks, mate.
So apologies.
Johnny's answer was a bit boring.
Yeah.
Sure.
So for me, it would be, right, say the parent comes to me and they're wearing an Arsenal shirt. I know they go and watch Arsenal games, they're a massive Arsenal fan. I'd pick out an Arsenal player and I would say Saka.
Nice.
And I would say that this player, started in this position, then played this position, even at a senior level. And then if I had the knowledge of them, Saka actually grew up as a left back, and then he
exactly
here we go, football knowledge guy,
incredible.
And then he then progressed to a different position, maybe on a different side of the pitch, even, who knows.
Nice.
Then you could use that as a reference point, and then because you're tapping into their passion, it's a great way to influence their thinking.
That's brilliant. No, I get it. And I think that is, again, really good answer, Johnny, but a more engaging way, particularly to a parent who is probably a football fan, speaking about their child in the same breath as the club that he supports. I think that would really...
If you want to be the next Saka, you need to rotate positions.
You're going to start the goal this week.
You're on the bench.
Have you got any sort of questions on that?
No, I think that's spot on. I think it's a really good way to tackle that challenge with parents. I think anything you can do to find a connection and see and help them understand and see that unfold and connect with their passion, then I think it's great. Probably just to chuck my 2 pence worth in. With regards to my idea, it was almost ask for the parents' trust and faith and then and then hopefully they'll see their child benefit and grow over time by playing in these different positions. You probably need that as well as what you said, and I think it's probably a mix of the two. I think that's a great way to frame it.
Yeah.
But then ultimately you need to check the parents' buy-in for their child to then play in these different positions, and then I think it's up to then you as the coach to then check in with the parent to showcase the development and progression that they've made.
It's almost like, speak to me at the end of the season and you'll see your child has benefited from playing on the left side, the right side, defence, attack, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think like in terms of the parents' involvement, like you speak about a lot within academy football, where you sort of try and stay away from the parents as much as possible. I think when you've got the parents' buy-in, it's always going to be more involved. The child's going to have a better experience because
definitely
mum or dad's not on the way home saying, "Oh, Coach Johnny ain't got Scooby-Doo what he's doing," because they understand what you're trying to do and what your methods are.
Definitely.
Fantastic. So I think that's 2-1 to you,
2-1
James.
means Johnny wins the next point.
Get in.
Not definitely. He's got to give a good answer first. So we're gonna let's have another question, see what he comes up with. You rotate goalkeepers in your under-8s team, and a child's mum doesn't want them to play in goal at all. How are you, Johnny, going to overcome this challenge?
Good question. I would
Thank you.
ask the mother why and try and gain an understanding as to why before making next steps and decisions.
James?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Desperately want to say buy them a pair of goalie gloves. I would say I would rotate them and maybe just shorten the amount of time that they're in goal for, because ultimately no one's like keeping down to the second how long they're in goal for, and maybe just speed it up a little bit for that kid. If the kid's not happy, if the parent's not happy, just get it over and done with quickly and move on to the next one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with you, John, because it sounds like from the question that it's the mum's not happy.
Yeah.
If the child may want to play in goal,
Yeah,
she
maybe.
doesn't want him to for one
Very
reason
true.
or another. So, John, expand.
So I think it's just ultimately understanding the reason as to why. It could be like a safety thing, and they're worried about
Broke his wrist.
before, and ultimately there's like a genuine reason or fear
True.
as to why. So I think if that is the case, then actually it would influence your decision making moving forward. It might be that she thinks her son's the best striker in the team and that he shouldn't be anywhere near the goal, so he should be playing up front, and at that point that's where another intervention is made. So I think it's really important to understand the why before then jump into the decision or the conclusions.
Is there any scenario where you change your approach based on that? So if this child doesn't want to go in goal because when he went in goal a year ago he broke his wrist and he's really scared, and this child doesn't want to go in goal because he just cries and he hates it, then would you then go, if you'd started out with my policy is everyone rotates and goes in goal, would you then change your approach?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think what I would try and do in that example is work towards, so like building their confidence so they then felt more comfortable going in goal over time, and trying to understand why they hate it, or if there is that fear of them breaking their wrist again, it's trying to then develop that over time so they then have the confidence to do that in the future, because ultimately that's the goal, isn't it? You don't want any child to be fearful or upset doing something. So I think it's taking them on that journey, but I think in the early stages of that I would change my approach, but I'd make sure what's key in that is you're communicating to the rest of the children, to the rest of the parents, to explain the situation, and you'd like to think that they're all going to be compassionate enough to appreciate your decision and those types of things.
Yeah, I suppose that's the biggest challenge, isn't it? Because then why is little Johnny not going in goal? I don't want little James to go in goal. Like it's sort of managing everyone and not that specific child and their mum.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just, look, there are lots of great grassroots parents and there are loads of parents that do fantastic things. We're obviously talking about the extreme, and there will be those extreme examples and cases, but I think more often than not the parents will be understanding. You'd like to think so.
You'd like to think in an under-8s team that if there's a little 7-year-old broken his wrist, they don't mind if he doesn't go in goal.
Yeah, we'd hope so. Okay, so you ain't going to believe this.
Oh no.
We're going into question 5.
Yeah?
It's 2-2.
Oh, there we go.
It's the decider. Here we go then. You're away for the weekend.
Anywhere
lovely.
nice?
The Cotswolds.
Oh, beautiful.
A pushy parent is the only volunteer to manage a team on match day.
Oh.
What advice are you going to give them, James?
I'd remind them to stick to the principle, the agreed principles of the team. So going back to the other question where we said, you got an A4 one pager that says that's what we do. We rotate goalkeepers. We have equal minutes or whatever. I'd say just make sure you stick to that. That would be the main thing to stop anything too bad happening.
Stick to the principle, John.
I'd spell it out for them.
Spell it out. Right, yours was a really good answer, but the mystery that is just left with that means that he's going to
He doesn't even know what he means.
Well,
spell what out?
Tactical. So I, in that example, would go one step further than what James said, and I'd give them the team that's going to play, the substitutes, when to make them, and I'd give them as much information as possible and as little decision making as possible to then basically ensure that as many of those principles that you spoke about are spelled out to them.
So this is a pushy parent, don't forget. How are you going to do that? Is that, come on, we'll go for a drink, I'm going to take you through exactly what's going to happen?
I'm in the Cotswolds, Luke, I'm not going for
No,
a
but this
drink.
is the day before. You've got 2 days, you pack it, but you've got a couple of hours spare. Like, how are you going to...
Depending on my relationship with that parent, I think would influence that. So
Packing, it's just like, if you've got your bags packed, you've got time to set for a drink.
But I think that you could just send it through to them, send them and message it in a way that, look, want to make it as easy as possible, really appreciate you stepping in. There's a lot of work that goes involved. So what I've done is mean that you can just pick it up and run with it.
Do you know what I do?
Do all those
to influence that as well, I would then, if that's an email to them, I'd copy the rest of the team in.
Yeah, nice.
So you almost go, right, here's what you need to do on Saturday, here's the plan, here's the team, here's the rotations, here's what we're going to do with goalkeepers, copy everyone else in so that everyone knows if they deviate from that, they're the one that's messed up.
And you've done everything you can to try and safeguard that experience. So, spell it out for them.
Spell it out in an email format and a face-to-face conversation. This is
depends if you packed or not.
There'll be
grassroots
grassroots coaches watching this going, I haven't got time. That's the thing. There'll be people going, I haven't got time to go for a drink the night before I go away to the Cotswolds. Like, how am I going to cram that in?
Yeah.
But ultimately you just need to spell it out black and white, and you need to make everyone in the team aware of what you've said. If they then deviate away from that, because it's a one-off,
you've done all you can.
You know, you don't go to the Cotswolds every weekend, so it's almost like
chance of it, fine thing.
Then I think that then at the very least, people go, oh, it was a bit rough. You know, the helper this week, you know, didn't do a great job, but almost builds your credibility as the coach when you come back next week and do your job.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Really, and like again, that is for me, like within grassroots football, something that we hear a lot about is like coaches that come to us. It's a big challenge, isn't it? Like you said, there's so many fantastic parents, but some that maybe don't understand the game as much, and a massive challenge for grassroots coaches.
My big takeaway from this week's discussion is just that how much grassroots coaches have to deal with a load of rubbish, and that really, you know, we've sat here and talked about the parents, the problems, the rotating goalkeepers, the how many minutes kids play. At no point are we talking about, and we'll do that in another podcast, I'm sure, but the environment you create and how you can make these magical experiences for kids that they remember for the rest of their lives. And I think the big message from me is just that if there's football parents out there listening, then think about the role that you play within grassroots football, because sometimes it can hold your child and indeed the other children within the team back. It's a real shame that these are prevalent things, but we can sit here with absolute confidence and talk about them because we know that they're issues. We hear it all the time.
Yeah,
we hear all the challenges that people face. It's just a crying shame, really, isn't it? It's just a bit demoralising, but all we can do is keep trying to push against those challenges and keep enhancing grassroots football to the best of our ability.
Brilliant. Great chat, guys. Thank you for that. Johnny wins.
Well done, John.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. And now,
what's he won? A weekend in the Cotswolds?
Yeah.
Oh,
got
lovely.
A table at Clarkson's farm. Everyone's favourite part of the podcast.
The football fun fact.
Football fun fact. Now, I think I sort of got a little bit confused about that, thinking it was a Luke Chadwick fun fact. So I've gone away, done some research, and I've got a fact and a half for you.
Nice.
Okay, you might know this. I know you're both big football fans, great knowledge of the game. But do you know what the biggest ever international football score was? Because if not, I'm more than happy to tell you.
If we should have a guess, I'm going to say, I've got something in my head that says it's like a 31-0, but I don't know where I've plucked that from. Might be completely wrong.
34-0.
You ain't going to flipping believe this, but you've got it bang on.
Is it 31-0?
31-0.
I don't know where I've plucked
Unbelievable.
that
Back in 2002, in a World Cup qualifier,
from.
Australia
Yeah.
beat America Samoa 31-0. I can't believe it. Your knowledge of football
I don't
is
know where-
Well, you know where
incredible.
Saka plays, you know the highest international
There you
score.
go.
So that's today's football fun fact.
Solid.
A very good one.
Appreciate that. And
Nice.
well done to you for getting it
Thank you.
correct.
Yeah,
Thank you,
very
mate.
good.
Cheers.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Football Fun Factory podcast. We'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.